All right, we are back in the building. This is another week here in Sunnyside, Dubai, and my guest is none other than Pranitha. I apologize, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. So could you?
Yes.
I'm always kind of scared to pronounce other people's last names. Like, yeah. But please go ahead, just for the record.
Right. So I'm Pranitha Alugubelly. That's the last name. Alugubelly is a very Telugu name. So
All
yeah,
right, okay.
yeah. I mean, should I just talk a little bit about how I ended up in Dubai and ended up
Sure,
in
sure. I'll tell
Web3?
you what, so cool. Yeah. Actually, you know what? Before you go into that, first of all, I'm kind of curious to know. I never got a chance to actually ask you, like, how do you get into crypto? How do you get into the space? Because I know you come from the traditional financial space, so I'm very curious to know that journey. So, could you?
That's It's actually very interesting because every single person's story into crypto is always a bit of a it's always an interesting story. So I actually I studied finance, right? And I was very adamant that I wanted to do a capital markets role, which is basically stock markets, bonds, and that's what I studied, and that's what I worked in. And in Dubai, I was working at an asset management firm, doing very typical investment management work as an analyst. And then I worked in a family office. I worked in a family office where I handled a portfolio, a sizable portfolio, where I would basically construct, for the money that came in, I would construct portfolios based on, like where it made sense, put how much money in stocks, how much money in bonds. But obviously in 2020, in 2021, crypto took off in such a big way that it created waves across industries, including finance, correct? And
Yeah.
obviously the principal, like whose money I was managing, the principal whose money the family office was in charge of, everybody noticed crypto, right? I mean, you're looking at people. I know some people who put some money, like just sure luck, safe moon, and they were looking at gains of 1,000x. You're not even looking at percentages anymore. You're literally looking at multipliers. That is unheard of in finance. And obviously, in the beginning, we looked at it with a little bit of suspicion. You heard everybody in every corner in finance speaking about how crypto is a scam. But it's been 2 years now, and eventually, after all the hype and all of that died down, you realize that there is some value to it. So, but anyway, the principal said, "Hey, why don't we look at crypto?" Um, our investment team, off the bat, our first reaction was like, "Hey, maybe that's risk that we are not willing to take. Because we don't know this. We don't know how it works. We don't know the aftermath. If it, falls to the ground, we don't know what it looks like. But you know, it also depends on an individual's risk appetite. So the principle was like, let's go ahead and allocate a little bit of it, and that's my first foray into crypto. And then once I got into it, I really got into it. I started investing on my own. I started also reaching out to other people in the space, and that's how I met David. David Chinetsky is the person that I have a project going on right now with. And yeah, he invested in several Web3 startups in the pre-seed stage, also in coins, etc. So yeah, I would say that was my first touch with crypto. Um,
Interesting. No, that's pretty cool. Yeah. I didn't realize you were working in a pretty sophisticated financial, I guess, system. I would say. So that's interesting though, because was it kind of a challenge? I mean, maybe for you or maybe some of your ex-colleagues coming from the traditional financial space into crypto. Was it like a big learning curve for you?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it was such a so what our education, what our experience within financial system gives us is a framework to like evaluate um, financial instruments, and they apply to stocks, they apply to bonds, they apply to uh, traditional instruments like these. There are obviously always new instruments that come up, but there's always some you know manual, some not manual per se, but some logic, some rationale that we can understand. Crypto, at least in the very beginning, a lot of it, especially when the hype was going up, like I mean, who hasn't heard of these shit coins that actually do not have any use cases, just going up insanely in value, and you have no idea why? So finance kind of tries to say that there's some intrinsic value to everything, and we couldn't really see that in crypto. But I would say that that was also, that had a little bit to do with the timing, the hype went crazy. But yeah, in the beginning, there was a little bit of like, what framework do we use to like evaluate crypto? So it was like a bit of learning for everyone in the industry. But yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, people realize that it is such a valuable commodity that you can't just ignore it, and which is why now you see so many asset management firms that even specialize in crypto or have a very big allocation to crypto, and several that have come up in Abu Dhabi now as well. So yeah, I think the industry learned that you can't just ignore this vertical, this commodity. But absolutely.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. No, that I. Yeah, 'cause I'm actually quite surprised though to learn like there are some funds who are. I mean, I knew there were some funds before who are into crypto and stuff, but I'm starting to see quite a fast, increase. So that's pretty interesting to see. But I was always kind of curious about their thesis, what's the mandate, behind all that, So I'm sure that it's pretty complicated, I guess. But unless there's something like you would like to share, like, you know,
Well, it's a very
um,
nascent, I mean, obviously, it's a very, very nascent field, right? And so typically, when you want to evaluate a coin, for example, a token, it actually is more, I would say, VC oriented, like venture capital oriented, the way you evaluate coins within crypto, because you have to look at the project itself and you have to look at it. Most of them, even if they might seem very viable in the beginning, like Axie Infinity, but like off the top
yeah,
of my head, that is a project that right at the beginning, when you don't even know how it might work, it was the first wave of gaming in blockchain. You might be like, that's an interesting idea. Sure, I'll put my money in it. And in the beginning, you're like, wow, okay, I made a lot of money. But then you don't know enough. Nobody knows enough to say how it would work in the worst case scenario, and that's what happened. We lost a lot of money when it crashed, right? And that's the one
yeah.
thing that people really can have the foresight to see, because it's such a nascent field. So it's like I said, it's always about like learning on the fly, like knowing that there are a lot of risks involved, and like you have to approach it from like a VC angle. Look at the team, look at how they want to,
Hmm.
yeah,
Right.
look at how they want to tackle like challenges that come up. How yeah, then yeah, basically how they're willing to see the project through. I would say.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned about like from the VC side of things because a lot of them are trying to understand the utility behind the projects. I know most folks they just try to look at the gains, but not many people understand the underworking or the underlying
Yes.
principle behind why there's value in it, what's the usage. Like for example, you brought up Axie Infinity, right? Like how does this play to earn model work and stuff? So not many people are very familiar about it, but I guess a lot of folks are kind of getting distracted by the gains, but then later it becomes too late when the market crashes and stuff. So I don't know. It's interesting to see. Hopefully, people will learn, but I'm kind of like a
Yeah.
pessimist. Not many people learn from history, so so I don't know. I'm supposed to be the happy camper over here, right?
Yeah, I mean, I always took you for an optimist, but yeah,
Yeah.
I see your pessimism. Like every single project is like down, and how how. So it's understandable that people are a bit more reluctant now. But I
Hmm.
mean, I do feel like the second wave of gaming, the first wave of gaming imploded. The biggest example
Yeah.
again is Axie Infinity. Um, But the second wave, I think people realize that you can't just make it a game where people come to earn. The focus should be on the game. Like make a game worth
Yeah.
playing, regardless of whether people earn or not. You know, the earning
Mm-hmm.
comes after. Like for example, Animoca, for example, if you heard of them, Animoca is doing really, really well with
Mm-hmm.
streaming and release. They also own Sandbox.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and they have a very good portfolio of games. Gala games, for example. I mean, I do think some of
Mm.
their games, their tokenomics, their game mechanics is still a little bit needs a little more innovation, for example. But
Right.
yeah, I feel like we have built upon the stories that came before us. Like I say, the first wave of games, like Axie Infinity, they work so that we can run. The second wave of games can run so that we can build on their failures and make a better product.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. I guess it depends. Yeah, I know. Just to go back to the, I guess the pessimism. I think right now I'm more optimistic about because the markets went down. Generally, good projects also have gone down too. But so it's sort of a good time to get good projects at discount. But I guess when it comes to there are a lot of projects out there. They don't really have much utility. So not many people do their research. It's similar to like, I tell people it's similar to like, buying stocks or real estate.
Yes,
You just have to do your due
absolutely.
diligence and stuff. But I
Absolutely.
guess, it's, I don't know. I guess for very reason they don't do that. Maybe they still need to upgrade their knowledge, or maybe on the side they may be lazy, or I don't know. It's a whole variant. But I will keep that keep that thought on for another day. But speaking about games, I know the project that you're working on, Ogme. Is it all right to ask? Can we
Yes.
talk a little bit about it if we can?
Yes,
Right?
please, absolutely.
Oh,
Any
okay, cool,
chance,
cool.
whatever to talk about Ogni.
All right, cool, cool. All right, okay, let's do that. That's okay. That's awesome. That's great because I just want to make sure. So, yeah, just can you just tell a little bit what Ogme is all about and what was the inspiration behind Ogme? So, yeah, please take it away.
Okay, we actually first really thought about Ogni back in October of last year. So it's been a while in Web3 terms. It's been a while. But the thing is, we were looking at all of these games back then. They were all very incredibly hard to get into. Even with CryptoKitties, Gods and Chain, all of these old games that were popular back then. Um, the learning curve was substantial. I would say. It wasn't hyper casual. It isn't something that you would pull up and play while you're waiting in the supermarket, right? So we felt like that category was lacking within Web3, and we really thought we could merge Web3 and hyper casual and create something where we could target non-crypto users, because all of these first save games were looking at bringing in people who already knew crypto and who wanted to mine in a way. So for them, it
Yeah,
wasn't so much about playing the game; it was more about earning coins through a game, but the game was the afterthought. And we wanted to
yeah,
change that. We wanted to be like, no, here's a game that you will enjoy playing, that you will, you know, that provides you so much recreational value that you will willingly spend hours on it. And if you earn money, if you're good at it, that's a bonus. And
yeah,
that was the idea behind it. And the reason why we picked trivia, so Ogni is basically our first game, hyper casual game that we will be launching on our platform will be trivia. We picked trivia because it's a passion project for us, both me and David and the people that we were talking to back then, players who were within Web3, were like, trivia is such a cool game. Why don't we have a trivia game with Web3? And there were a couple of projects that were trying to replicate HQ trivia. If you've heard of HQ trivia, they were trying to replicate it within Web3. And yeah, we just didn't find anyone that was doing a very good job, I suppose. And we were like, we could do a better job. We could do better than what they're doing. So that's basically how we started. And to be honest, we pivoted many times because I mean, as you know, the market imploded end of last year, and that meant that a lot of game mechanics that we took for granted, a lot of things that we thought made the most sense, clearly did not work out for our predecessors. So we had to rethink how we did things, and we had to hire
Hmm.
a whole new team. And I love this about Ogni, that we knew that we had to solve the tokenomics, because that was the issue with Axie Infinity. That was the issue with a lot of these
Yeah.
fictional games, right? The tokenomics were just not good enough. They did not work out. And so we had a team of economists. He's sitting on Tel Aviv. He's so cool. He's been the lead, senior economist, or lead economist for several huge Web2 game studios. He sits out of Tel Aviv, and he has like some 20, 21 years in the industry. And for him, we reached out to him
Ah.
because, yeah, he spoke a lot on LinkedIn. We saw that he was very vocal about how it would be cool to solve basically the tokenomics for Web3. We saw that he saw it as a challenge, and we reached out to him and we said, "Would you want to solve it for us? Like, would you be part of the core team?" And so his name is Eyal. He's out of Tel Aviv, and he's he's basically our lead economist. And then he was our first biggest team member who we onboarded. After that, we expanded the team to include a lot of people, focusing on again the game. And we do have a lot of them as well, but the game, again, I keep repeating myself, but it's so important for us that the game be the focus. So yeah, that's the product is what we're focusing on right now. We are looking to launch the MVP by the end of the year,
Hmm.
and we have a very. I mean, I'm biased. I'll be honest. I am biased, but it's a very good looking product that we have. It's a very interesting platform. So it's essentially a platform that aims to bring in hyper casual gamers, and we're looking to basically make a creator economy wherein if you're a gamer, you can also we give you the tools to create your own quizzes, for example. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's basically
Nice.
what it is.
No, that's cool. Yeah. No. First of all, hey, Pranitha, thank you for
I think
sharing Ogme, what it's all about, and I like the like the kind of like that simple approach. With a trivia game. Definitely, it's uh, an interesting segment to get into. But what really caught my attention when you mentioned about tokenomics, you know, because to me, but also with many other people too, many other early, because I talked to a lot of early startup people, a lot of them are trying to come up with projects, and this mysterious word is tokenomics, and it has been quite challenging to come up with the right tokenomics. Everyone has different points of views and stuff. So first, so thank you for bringing that up. So you know, I guess could you share your experience? I mean, you don't have to go fully in detail, but I was kind of curious to know, as a startup founder, trying to come up with the tokenomics, like obviously it wasn't like easy peasy lemon squeezy kind of an experience, right? So
absolutely.
like I guess the question I really want to ask you is, as a founder, like how important is tokenomics for a startup, really? Like,
Well, I would say for a Web3 startup, I mean, it's two-part, right? I wouldn't say it's not just tokenomics. Like, for example, within gaming, you're also looking at game mechanics, how you employ that tokenomics. And, there should be a way for you to organically burn those tokens within your platform. Otherwise, you're looking
got
at
that.
things like inflation, you're looking at things like either insane amounts of overvaluation or undervaluation. You need to find an organic, self-sustaining way where the platform takes care of it and you end up with a steady
Mm,
rate. It shouldn't go up too much. It shouldn't go down too much. And I will say this, like in 2020, 2021, the market itself, and I'm not just talking about crypto, including stocks and bonds, like there was so much quantitative easing that there was so much liquidity that every financial instrument went up. So the tokenomic models that we have right now to kind of take cues from, like from all of these established projects, they were formed during this period of 2020, 2021. And right now, we realize that we can't just replicate those same models. That's the issue that we face. So when we first started off, the tokenomics that we kind of thought made the most sense, where we basically went over, I don't know, like tens, 20, like some 30 odd projects and looked at all of their tokenomics outside of gaming, within gaming, and said, okay, what staking programs make sense? What tokenomics make sense? What allocations make sense? But you just have to always give yourself some space to change and modify it, because you never know how the macro environment is going to change. I think that's key. The key is always to say you have a rough outline, but you have to always be willing to change. Give yourself some margin to modify it or adapt it according to changes in your platform, your macro environment, etc. So that's what we are.
No, those are good. Yeah, no, those are really good points. Yeah, man, thanks for sharing that, because that has always been sort of for me, sort of like a continuing conversation with other people in the space, So, there's always this conversation: should it be like a fixed cap, or should it have just like an emission tail, or there should be like a burn rate? All these questions keep coming in. So, but yeah, thank you for sharing that. So, we covered Augme, we covered like a little bit tokenomics. I would love to kind of dive into just a general Web3 space. So you have co-founded with other people in the space, and now we're starting to see more women coming into the space. So kind of curious to ask you, maybe you could share some experience. What was it like to start this project, and have you ever advised maybe some other women in the Web3 space as well? So I know it's a broad question, but feel free to explore and share your insights.
I think it's actually true even within finance, not just Web3, but I found finance also to always be a bit of a boys' club, and I find Web3 also to be a little bit of a boys' club. And it's easy, right? If your friends group has 3 guys who are into Web3, it's easy for them to rope in their other friends into crypto, or say hey, your skill set would be great to work in my friend's Web3 startup. So it's very much a thing about networking, and because so many of the people within Web3 are already overwhelmingly men, it's easy for like I said, the boys' club thing, that networking thing, to sort of take place. So for women to break into it, I would say it's a little bit of an uphill climb. But from my experience, I find that women have to be quite entrepreneurial if they want to get into Web3. They have to kind of, I was, lucky enough that I met the right people who saw, that I had quite a lot to offer, and my expertise within finance could put a lot of skills that I could transfer to Web3, right? And so I would say, for example, you are part of the crypto coffee with crypto that happens every week, and every single city. We are lucky that in Dubai is such a so open to Web3, so keen to embrace Web3 that there are so many communities that promote Web3. But I'm sure every city, even in India, there are so many promising Web3 projects that are taking shape. But I would say every city has some Web3 community that if you look hard enough, you will find. And I would say it's all about networking. Because we were talking about this earlier, a lot of, because I would say hiring within Web3, most of it has to do with networking. You have to kind of know who you're working with, especially if it's a startup. You would need to trust the person. You would need to see in person what their skill set is, and if you can work with that. So I would say networking is key. But additionally, also,
Okay.
if they're willing to have a voice on social media, like if they write, quite often on, for example, LinkedIn, it could be on Medium, it could be on like Mia, for example. She's a she's someone that we both know. She's someone that wants to become a Web3 influencer, and she wants to make blockchain based question and answers, basically in a social media sort of format. So if you can put yourself out there that way, that's one way to kind of reach a wider audience, and people can see that.
Right.
Yeah, and that's one way to kind of get in. But yeah, you kind of have to be entrepreneurial. There is no established, there is no
Hmm.
conventional way to get in. You kind of have to, like,
Right.
I guess, hustle.
All right. No, no, those are really good points. I think it's just the nature of Web3. I guess whether you're a guy or a girl, you gotta be maybe hustle, not hustle, like kind of you have to hustle around. But also the most important thing is networking. Building their
Yes,
connections,
absolutely.
and I think also putting yourself out there too. I know that is. I mean, even for guys too, I know like many guys I know here that tend to be kind of techie and stuff, but they don't put themselves out there. They don't market themselves in some way. So I guess also similar. A lot of women too, want to be behind the scenes kind of thing, which is
Yeah,
great. But I think it is also important to um, kind of change that social dynamics because there's a lot of skill set, a lot of value women can bring in, and
absolutely.
especially in terms of asset management or even marketing too. Uh,
Absolutely.
I try to encourage some of my friends, who are coming from the creative side or the marketing side. They can bring a lot of value. They could really, how do you say, in a way, legitimize Web3. I know that's kind of a strong word to put it, but just because uh, like I know that just between you and me, sometimes I feel like the marketing here at Web3 tends to be kind of cliche or kind of
Yeah,
kind of weird. So we
that
could do. I personally say we could do better. That's what I'm trying to say.
I feel like for like actual mass adoption of Web3 to come about, we do need to like market it a lot better than we're doing right now. Like I mean, we
Yeah,
all know that there's this, the crypto bro, the stereotype of the crypto bro, this nerdy techie guy who can't stop talking about crypto.
yeah,
We do need some good marketing people to come in and change this perception of crypto.
yeah.
It might be a strong word, but I think I agree with that.
Yeah, the reason I'm saying that is I think is that maybe out of frustration because um, I guess the because I'm trying to convince some of lady friends like hey hey we could use your help in the space not because hey this is a woman thing and stuff hey play the that woman narrative. I mean to me that's I disagree with that. I think they can really add value and make Web3 much more inclusive and also just totally change things for the better. So definitely want to see more entrepreneurship in the space too. Than simply depend the big corporate and stuff. So I tend to be that kind of guy. So um, so yeah, it'll be kind of cool to see that.
We
And
need more
plus
people like
too, I'm
you.
trying to get.
We need more people like you.
Exactly, I know. Thank you for saying that. I know. Jeez, yeah. Spread the word, Pranitha. Spread the word. But yeah, I because but I do understand some of my friends. They are a little apprehensive because it tends to be quite techy. Just too many. Like these not buzzwords, but a lot of these technical terms and stuff. So it can be quite overwhelming. So. Um, I do tell some of my friends like, hey, if you're entering in the in the tech and innovation space, in terms of messaging, we got to keep it simple. So, from your side, from your point of view, please agree or disagree.
Yes.
Like, how
Like
can we? No, please go ahead. Please explain more. Like,
even conventionally, like women tech, there are so many studies that show that women technically don't apply to any job unless they're qualified or overqualified for it. Meanwhile, men, I mean, these are just studies that have been done. Meanwhile, men, even if they're like maybe 60 to 80% qualified, they'll go right ahead and apply. And like things like imposter syndrome are a lot more prevalent in women. So women tend to undersell themselves in general, like, and
Yeah.
that's a universal problem across industries. And like I said,
True.
to kind of break into Web3, you kind of need to be able to sell yourself, right? You need to connect with
Yeah.
people to be able to, right? And so, yeah, I think that is the biggest problem. But also, like for example, even Web2, when it first came out, like if you ask me the exact technical details of how an email actually goes through to the person that I'm sending it to, I don't know. I don't know, but
No one knows. No,
right.
no one knows the stuff. No one knows. That's the thing. Like,
At the
yeah,
end, it's
exactly.
about like the use case. Like it's about the use case. Like what actually are you doing with the technology? Like I agree in the early stages, the building of the technology is the most important aspect. But eventually, once you built it, it's about like how are you using it, right? And for that, you don't
Yeah.
really need to know the tech. And yeah, there are so many people like not I mean not just women, like I mean across disciplines that have nothing to do with tech who could, like improve the Web3 space, improve like use cases, improve so many things within Web3. So yeah, I would say that there is, like you said, there's so much jargon that people throw around within Web3 that it kind of intimidates people
Yeah.
who don't really understand, yeah,
No,
who
no,
might
it's so
not know
true.
who might not know the tech part, who might be like, okay, I'm intimidating, I'm daunted, I don't wanna get in. But that I think is something we can all kind of do a little bit, everyone, to change that perception and make it a bit more
All right,
welcoming for
cool.
everyone.
Yeah, but I was just kind of curious to ask you because I got my friend, I got some friends. I'm trying to tell them, you know me, I'm trying to evangelize about crypto and blockchain, and you know, they do have great skill sets when it comes to marketing, PR. Some of them also are in the league, they're lawyers as well. So th- you know, they definitely have skill sets that could, help, advance and expand the space. Now, like instead of me giving advice, if it was you, what would be your advice to them, like to get them to overcome the obstacles and entering the Web3 space? What would be
Yeah.
your golden words?
I would say it's such a new space. It's such a nascent space. I didn't know anything in about Web3 like 2 years ago. I didn't know absolutely like nothing, and it's something that I threw myself into because of my interest, and so did people around me. Like because everybody in Web3, like everything, most of their knowledge, especially for the people who just got into it, it's something
Yeah.
that they learned, right, and that they learned in a very short amount of time, and you just have to start. You just really have to start.
Okay.
If you don't know, and unless you start somewhere, like where,
Yeah.
then you're not going to get anywhere. You just have to start. You just a little bit every day, and you just within a year, you won't even realize it. You'll get so far. Like that's the beautiful thing about
Exactly.
Web3. You
That's
can
right.
learn, and yeah, you just have to
No, I
start.
love it. I love it. No, no, thanks for saying that. I think the reason I asked that is, I mean, that message you said about just starting it, right? Like just putting yourself out there. I know so like a lot of people say it's like a cliche thing, but there's so much truth to it because again, I think we have to keep repeating these golden advices for people. It's not just for women, but also for guys too. Um, I mean, it doesn't have to be, or just because you're from the West or the East or whatever. Like, I think this space, there is incredible opportunity to make your mark in the space. I mean, whether it's a GameFi or like for my case, I love to talk about the importance of like privacy and like protecting like data privacy and all that stuff. Other folks, I have some friends who are artists. They trying to find their space in NFTs or maybe in the metaverse. So there's so much of not just categories, but just this potential, just incredible opportunities and new possibilities. So I think there's. I think the way I see it for me in my life, I just see it as a second chance. Like I couldn't make enough mark in say the traditional financial space when I was with American Express. Like I have really no space. There's no place for me over there. But here, wow. I mean, like I could make a difference. I could evangelize and make money too, right? Like you can increase your financial confidence, raise your human capital, and you can do a lot of good for the world. So I mean, this is a triple bonanza. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. We can do this. So if I could do it, y'all can damn do it too. So yeah, that's my message. Anyway,
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. Wait, I'm sorry. Whose podcast is this? Is this your podcast or mine? I'm confused too. Like, what the hell is going on?
I mean, absolutely. Like every single word you said, I completely agree. Like, absolutely. You just gotta start. Like, it really is a second chance. And the thing is, they don't like people who are hiring within Web3, they don't, it's not like that conventional, HR checking your resume. They're like, they don't care what you did before. Like, what is your experience in Web3? How good are you? Like, so it's all about like what you make for yourself. Like, you want to learn, you want to get into it, like, you can. Like, it's in your control so much more than in,
Okay.
for example, and not just us as an OB, I know so many others within our network who are struggling with this problem. We are looking at, we are shopping for law firms basically to help us, you know, draft contracts that are very Web3 specific. And most of them, even those who have some Web3 experience, they lack a lot of experience in other things. Like, for example, we spoke to one about drafting a contract for a co-founder wherein you would transfer some amount of tokens and the vesting schedule, things like that. And they just had no
Right.
idea. And it's perfectly fair because the legislation itself is so tricky
Yeah.
and so many countries don't
Right.
even have laws about it, right? So it's
Yeah.
perfectly
Right.
fair that these law firms don't know how to do it. But the thing is, unless you start somewhere, unless you try to, even if you don't know, you try, you figure it out, right? Unless you have to start somewhere. And hopefully we find some law. That
Yeah.
so many startups. We're all shopping. So if any law
Right.
firm is
Okay.
listening to this podcast, please, yeah.
Now, sure. We'll put the word out there. We'll put the word out there. Definitely will do that. But anyways, we're almost coming to a
Yeah.
close. But before I let you go and you run off and do your Augme things and other Web3 stuff, now because you talked about getting started and I actually was thinking I want to give you kind of like a scenario. They'll say for example, you know. Someone's looking for an internship. Someone is looking to, trying to find their break into Web3 space, right? So let's say they're trying to get some sort of internship at augme.io. So, actually, what are the things you would look for? I mean, if you want to like, get an intern, someone who's very, like, really curious about the space, but they're just trying to figure things out. So, like, are you open to that? Are you, I mean, open to advise people? Like, how would you advise them? I mean,
I would say if people really want to break into Web3 today, I would say there are two things to keep in mind. A lot of Web3 startups, especially who are in the pre-seed seed stage, they might be not have a lot of cash to pay. So if you're willing to
mhm.
take coins, if you're willing to be paid in tokens, I would say like you open yourself up to so many amazing employment opportunities. But obviously
Nice.
they
Okay.
only materialize in money like once you have actually launch. So that might take some time,
Gotcha.
but that's the downside. But
Yeah.
if you really want to reach out, there are so many amazing. Like you just put the website, all of them have some sort of a hello@ogme.io. That's our email ID, for example. If someone ever reached out to us on
Gotcha.
that saying, "Hey, would you be willing to? I just want to learn, or like anything I can do, want to be an intern, please." Always more than welcome. And I'm sure that's the attitude that most Web3 startups have. But like I said again, most of them, not all of them, most of them might not be able to pay you in cash. They might just pay you in tokens.
Yeah.
But you never know
Gotcha.
if it takes off, then those tokens might be worth a lot of money.
And true. Hey, nicely said, Pranitha. I appreciate that. Because I think in a couple of weeks, like here at xe.com, we're planning to have like kind of like an open day drive, just to give a lot of youngsters some opportunity, to enter the crypto exchange space, how things work and stuff. So that's pretty cool that you're willing to do that, and it's not just you. Many other startups are doing that. So I want to put that message out there. Let the folks know that hey, this is actually a great time to join with startups and learn how things work and also get some real experience, because I think to me, compared to the Web2 space or the traditional space, here in Web3, I mean, you get to learn a lot of stuff, not just one thing. I think it's almost like all hands on deck. Like you're everywhere. So it is kind of crazy in the start, but I think you'll get a lot more value out of it compared to some other industries and stuff. So yeah. Anyways, Pranitha, hey, we gotta go. So before you leave us, don't hit the leave button yet. Please. How can people connect with you? How can people learn more about you? And how can they connect with you, talk to you, and all that jazz? So please share all the socials here. Tell us more.
We do have we are on Instagram, we are on Twitter as well. But again, like I said, we're still in the pre-seed stage, so our social media activity might be it's a little low key at the moment, not as active because we're still in development phase. But if anyone wants to reach out to us, we're available at hello@ogme.io. Anything, if you think you can add value to our team, or if you're interested in having to see what we're all about, please hit us up. We are happy to share what we're doing, and always happy to listen to interested people who want to know more about doing.
Awesome, sure. And also one more thing, I will also share your LinkedIn profile link in the description below, so people can. So I definitely do that. So yeah, but anyways, xe.com fan, we gotta go. Pranitha has to go. She has to do all this crazy Web3 stuff. Like every other guest in my podcast, we all do some fun Web3 stuff. So anyways, y'all be good. Y'all be safe. We'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.